Episode 12 of Gangsta had me feeling very conflicted. Even though it was a good episode, it definitely did not feel like a finale, and that right there does frustrate me a little bit because I really wanted the series to end off well, but the way it ended, it made me want more, and I definitely feel that now we need a season 2, especially from the way that it ended, and so hopefully we will get that. But I definitely gotta say, like, even though I liked it, I just wanted more, especially from the way that like things played out. Because we see now that at the beginning of the episode, we have Alex who would like still have it kind of like a nightmare, and we see more of her past, where we have I believe his name was Daniel, who we all know was a pimp back then, and we see that this guy obviously had like lured her in with his words, because not only did he tell her that she could make money to support her little brother and her father, who we did learn, was around back then. So it wasn't like it was just her and brother, like all alone. But we also learned that a certain tag had actually killed her mother. And I was like wondering if they were like hinting at that tag being Nicholas, because we do see at one point that while she was like, having this nightmare, we see Nicholas on the ground, injured, and we see now blood was like coming, blood was like staining his clothes, and we have Alex like looking at him, and we see him looking back at her. So I do wonder if like maybe Nicholas did it, because that right there is what it seemed at first. They were hinting at that, but then we see now that after her dead pimp talked to her in her dream, and we see her brother begging her not to go, and then we have her father also cursing all tags and like wish they would die. We finally have her waking up, and to our surprise Nicholas was actually there by her side. And I thought that right there was like rather sweet, because I will say that because Nicholas is my favorite character, I do prefer him, a lot more with Alex than Warwick, even though, Alex and Warwick clearly have that romance kind of like going on already. It was definitely nice though to see Nicholas there, and we see and we see him, giving her like this cup of coffee. But then we see now that when Alex was like thinking about, that dream, and of course she recalls seeing Nicholas, she actually asked him if they met before, but sadly, before he can answer, we have two people from the Cristiano family, coming to get him, because right now, that big guy, Galahad, he has not returned yet, and that is definitely, not a good sign. But because, Nicholas, is such a beast, even though he is not a real Warwick, they do want him to come in there and bodyguard, Miss Cristiano, because that way they would at least feel safe, around her. And we see, obviously, Nicholas was definitely going to do that. But unfortunately, we have Alex who actually wants to like come along, and we have Nicholas telling her, to stay behind, and then we have Alex being a bit persistent, and she actually went after him. But we see that like she did not put up that much of a fight, because once Nick here had pulled away from her, that right there pretty much made her give up, and we see her now sitting, on the steps. And I do wish that Alex would have fought, a bit harder if she, really wanted to go, but it's fine though, it's okay. And so now going to the club now, the Bastard Club, we see that at one point we have Joel who came in there, and obviously she was like yelling at Marco, and we do learn that Marco here, he was like once a part of the Espionette, who was like this Esper group at Hunters. And so we see at one point Marco was like a part of them, and we learn now that Miss Jo here, the old lady, she actually kind of like sacrificed her son and his wife to Marco, who I'm guessing used them in some way that would like benefit the Espionettes, but obviously it like costed them their lives. and we now have Joe hitting him like repeatedly with her cane, but eventually, you know, Nick here had came to stop her, and so now we see that like Joe left, but Nicholas here had went after her, and so we learn now that when Joe learned about what happened to her son and his wife, she did not even, you know, get a body part back. You know, like there was nothing left that like she could like cherish or bury. But when it came to Connie or Constance, she did not want it to be that way this time, and she was saying she didn't care if it wasn't a head, an ear, or, you know, or an eyeball. She wanted something, but like that right there shows you, you know, how much she cared for her granddaughter. And so right now she was like begging to practically to save her. And so now we see that the Esmonets, they are obviously an expert group of hunters, but the thing is, like they are kind of like Blade, you know, from that old vampire movies. They have all of the benefits of like being a tag, but at the same time they have like none of their weaknesses. They have a strength that could easily surpass them, and they don't have to rely on the toxicity or the drug a saber at all, because they're already that freaking strong. And not to mention Marco, you know, 15 years ago was like actually one of them. And to me, you know, I was like kind of shocked to see that, because if this guy was like just a beastie hunter back then, and we see some of his comrades now like Stryker, then why in the world could he not be Erica and that other kid, you know, when they fought, you know, a few episodes ago? But we do learn that right now his strength has definitely gone down, you know, the past few years. And not to mention now we see at one point that while he was like talking to Miss Cristiano, we see her now undressing, you know, after she took care of his wounds. And so we see now that the way she was talking to Marco, you know, definitely reminded him of her father, and we see her father, you know, standing beside her as she was talking. I thought that right there was like definitely nice, and I definitely found it, you know, pretty impressive that even though, you know, this like girl is so young, she is still in charge right now, because she's using every last contact she has to pretty much find Connie for Marco, because he has given them their all for the past 15 years, that it's now time, you know, to pay them back. And so we see now that Warwick, he was now at the Monroe mansion, and we see that, you know, right now we have Miles, who was telling Warwick that Miss Monroe was with someone named Ivan. And so right now, like, we all know that Warwick, he can definitely not forget her face. And of course, he has seen, you know, Ivan a few times, you know, one being where Doug was like coming after Mr. Monroe, and the other time was where we have Ivan giving money to Miss Cristiano. And so right now he was like wondering just how in the world, you know, was Ivan, because he's a new guy, how in the world was he able to survive where we have all these other like father soldiers dying? And so that right there definitely raised a red flag. But when they had went to Mr. Monroe's office, he was like already gone. And so right now they were going to look for him, but we have, you know, another hunter, you know, named Stryker. He was like already there, and this guy was like definitely putting in work. And so right now we have Warwick telling Miles, you know, to get out of there, because for some reason Miles is actually one of the key figures into the Monroe family, and I'm thinking that it's possible that, you know, after Mr. Monroe passes away, and even though Miles is definitely an older gentleman, it is possible that he could be the next one to actually, you know, take over, because for some reason, you know, Miles seemed really important within the family. And even though Warwick is a normal, you know, really he had no business being there, but he would not abandon him. And I thought that right there was like rather nice. but we have all these soldiers pretty much giving up their lives so that way they can buy Miles and Mr. Monroe some time. And we have Stryker now who actually broke down a steel door with like his bare hands, and to me that right there was like freaking crazy. And so right now, eventually we have Stryker making it to Mr. Monroe's office, because he was the one that I'm guessing Stryker can't either talk to, which I highly doubt, or just plain kill. And we see how Warwick and Miles had set this trap for him, but it obviously did not work. And we have not Mr. Monroe, we have Miles and Warwick pretty much getting beat up by this guy, and we even have Warwick here getting stabbed at one point. But we see that even though these guys are like not real tags but stronger than them, drugs like Downer actually work pretty well on them. But even though that right there was the case, while Stryker could like move around, he actually threw Warwick here out of a window, and I do believe that was like maybe 2 stories high, or possibly could have been 3. I'm not really sure, but I just know that Warwick here, he got thrown out of a window and fell pretty far down. And so now we see that when he did, Nina here, who was at first sleeping, she actually woke up and like ran outside. So I'm wondering, is it possible that Nina is possibly some kind of psychic maybe, because it seemed like she could tell or possibly feel something when it like happened to Warwick, and that right there definitely had me thinking, like, who exactly is Nina? Because if that really is the case, then there's no way she's completely normal, and I do wonder what else she can do. But now we see that in the flashback, we have I'm not sure if that right there was like Mr. Monroe, or if it was possibly Warwick's father, but someone was telling him that that obviously he is I do believe that it was like Mr. Monroe telling him that Warwick in reality is a powerless normal, that no matter how much time he might spend around a tag, he will never become one. And I do believe that right there must be so frustrating to him, because I do believe that like Warwick does wish that like that he was born a tag, because at least that way he can actually fight with Nicholas and not be just back up. Because even when Stryker was there, Warwick knew that they had no chance of like beating him without Nicholas or the others. And so now we have Warwick, now laying on the ground, but he does appear to be alive though, which is definitely a good thing. And so now we see that Erica and that little kid, we have that boy who was like messing around somebody's body, like digging in their guts, but he did take their tag though. And so now we see that while they were like moving out, we have Diego, what's the other guy named his friend, and that little girl, they were like searching for Erica, and at first they could not see her, but then we have Erica running along the rooftops, and that right there allowed Diego to, or what's the name, Delico, to actually to actually spot her. And that right there definitely shocked him. So I do wonder what's like going on with there. But then we have Nicholas, who was like jumping around like a freaking spring man, but because this guy got some like serious air, but he was saying that like it was no use. And I do wonder, what in the world he was like referring to. But sadly, that right there is where the episode ended. And so right now, it definitely ended on a very strong cliffhanger note, which is why I will like hold out, for season 2, because they have to confirm it. There is no way they could end it like that. But overall, Gangsta, Dipper here was like probably my second favorite show this season. And of course, I love this series, and the episode overall to me, it was very strong. But for a finale though, it definitely kind of annoyed me some. So I'm not sure, what to rate overall. But I will say that Gangsta has been a very, very fantastic anime to watch, and definitely a pleasant to review this season. But of course, I will hear what you guys thought about this, and please do not forget to like and subscribe because it really helps me out. But as always, you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.